Hi friends, welcome to Beautifully Bookish Bethany. In today's video, I'm going to be talking about the books that I plan to read in the month of March. Oh man, whew. February has just blown by. I always forget how much shorter of a month it is, and I never get to everything I was hoping to get to in February, which is totally fine. But I am here to talk about my reading plans for March, and it's gonna be busy. Like, I have a lot to read on my TBR. I will say some of these things can get pushed back into April if I don't get to them in March, but these are all of the books that I'm hoping to get to. Some of them, if they're for like read-alongs or Patreon stuff, I'll definitely be reading in the month of March, but like there's a few arcs I have that I'm like, they don't really come out till like April or May, so I could push them back if I need to. So as a heads up, this does have a little bit of flexibility built into it. With that said, let's go ahead and start by talking about the book that we're reading for my Patreon book club. Every month my patrons get to vote on a book that we will read together. The genre rotates, and for March, the genre was horror. The book that they voted for us to read together was A Head Full of Ghosts by Paul Tremblay. I'm excited to finally pick up something else by Paul Tremblay. I read Cabin at the End of the World and really loved it. I know he's hit or miss for people because he does these like open-ended endings, but I really enjoy the kind of horror that he seems to do. And this one is interesting because it seems to be playing with this question of possession versus mental health disorders, of like which it is. A family is torn apart when their 14-year-old daughter begins to display signs of acute schizophrenia, and the doctors are unable to stop her bizarre outbursts and subsequent descent into madness. Their home devolves into a house of horrors, and they reluctantly turn to a local Catholic priest for help, who suggests an exorcism and contacts a production company that might be interested in following their plight. So yeah, I've heard really good things about it. It sounds interesting. This is what we're going to be reading for book club. Every month, some of my higher tier patrons also get to suggest and vote on a book that they want to see me do a reading vlog for. And I think for the one I'm doing this month, I'm probably going to make it a patron only reading vlog just because I have so much else on my plate for the month. We'll see how it goes. But the book that they voted on was The Once and Future Witches by Alex E. Harrow. I am looking forward to this. It's been on my TBR for a while, and I have really enjoyed everything else I've read by this author, so I'm hopeful that I will enjoy this as well. It's a take on like an early women's suffrage movement, but with witches, set in the late 1800s. I mean, it sounds interesting. I'm curious to see how it's gonna go. I have heard mixed reviews of this. Some people weren't fans, but I'm hoping I'll like it, and I love the cover. It's beautiful. Next, let's talk books for read-alongs and buddy reads. My friend Leanna at Leanna's Library and I are doing a year-long read-along of the entire Sword of Truth series by Terry Goodkind, and for March, we're going to be reading Blood of the Fold. This is book 3 in the series, and the live show for this is going to be on my channel at the end of the month, so keep an eye out for that if you are reading along with us. Yeah, I feel like not as much happens in this one. It's definitely shorter than some of the other books, but we will be reading it and doing a live discussion at the end of the month. And since I have a little bit of a hiatus from our Abercrombie First Law read-along, I thought what better time to start another read-along of an epic fantasy series. So I'm going to be starting a read-along for the Live Ship Traders series by Robin Hobb. We will be beginning with Ship of Magic, and I have all of these wonderful people joining me. I am very excited. I will link up above the live show, which is already set up if you want to read along with us, but we're going to be reading one book a month for March, April, and May if you want to join us. I also have 2 buddy reads planned for the month, at least 2 that I can remember. I low-key feel like I'm forgetting one, but maybe it was for another month. I don't know. But on last month's TBR, I had put this book on there, and then the person I was buddy reading it with reached out and was like, hey, can we push this back till March? No problem. February is always a wild month anyway. So Beth and I are going to be reading The Shadow of the Gods by John Gwynne. Weren't able to get to it in February. We're supposed to be reading it in March and discussing, so I think it'll be fun. It's like epic fantasy. It's got a big dragon on the cover. I feel like it's going to be a good time. And then Leanna and I are buddy reading A River Enchanted by Rebecca Ross, which is her first adult fantasy title. We both got this as our Book of the Month Club picks, and Leanna's trying to read all of hers every month that she gets them, which is impressive because I have not done this. But I'm curious about this. It sounds promising. We'll see how we get on with it. I will also be reading Talking Back to Purity Culture by Rachel Joy Welcher. I don't know if this is necessarily going to be good or not, but I think it will be interesting, and I'm reading this for the purposes of a video series I'm doing talking about deconstructing from evangelicalism and purity culture. So this is one of 2 books that I'm reading for a video that I'm doing in that series. I'll be reading that. And then everything else on my TBR is stuff for review. And I have kind of a lot of it, so we'll see how this goes. First up, I have The Rune of Kings by Jen Lyons. I'm really excited about this. Tor was kind enough to send me a copy of the first book. They had reached out about the 5th one, and I was like, well, I haven't even started the series, but I am interested because I've heard great things. I hear the world building is really good and complicated, and I feel like it would be up my alley. So they sent me book 1. I'm very excited. I'm going to read this one in March. Also from Tor is The Thousand Eyes by A.K. Larkwood. This is the sequel to The Unspoken Name, which I really loved. I think this is a duology. Like, I believe it's just a duology. I'm not 100% certain of that, but I am excited. I was into book 1, really interesting world building. I liked the main character, and yeah, I feel like this is gonna be fun. Also a priority for this month is Outlawed by Anna North. Bloomsbury sent me a paperback copy of this. It came out last year, and I had it on my radar. I know Leanna liked it, and she thought I might be into it, so I was like, yeah, sure, send it along. It sounds interesting. It's like a feminist take on a Wild West novel from what I understand. We'll see how it goes. I know Book of the Month had this, and it is now out in paperback if y'all are interested. I also have an advanced copy of a book coming out in March, so I need to read this before it comes out. This is Blood Scion by Deborah Fillet. This was kindly sent to me by the folks over at Harper Teen, and this sounds great. It's a YA debut fantasy novel, a girl's journey of magic, injustice, power, and revenge, inspired by Yoruba Nigerian mythology. It sounds great. It's got a cool cover. I'm excited to read it. I've also got Hotel Magnifique by Emily Taylor. This comes out in April, sent to me by Penguin Teen. I feel like I've talked about this a lot, so I don't really want to go over all of it, but it sounds very intriguing. There's a mysterious hotel. There are secrets. It sounds Caraval-esque, I would say. So we'll see. It sounds fun. And then I've got 3 arcs of books that are not coming out until May, but I would like to try to get to them in March, or at least get to some of them. So these are the 3 that I'm putting on my TBR, but they may end up getting pushed back if I run out of time. I have This Is Not the Real World by Anna Carey. It is the sequel to This Is Not the Just Show, which I read a couple years back and really loved. It's like a YA thriller, and I don't want to say too much because I don't want to spoil it, but they have new covers, and I did like book 1. I'm excited to try book 2. Also coming out in May is Boys, Beasts, and Men by Sam J. Miller. This is a short story collection. It's like queer, dark fantasy with some sci-fi stuff. I've read something else by Sam Miller, The Art of Starving, and I really loved it. It was quite dark and a little controversial, but I was into his writing, so I'm excited to try this, and it was kindly sent to me by Tachyon Publications. And then the final physical arc I have was sent to me by the author, and I'm so excited about this. Adriana Herrera sent me a copy of The Caribbean Heiress in Paris. Again, this is coming out in May. It is her first full-length historical romance novel set in Paris in the late 1800s during the Exposition Universelle, with a woman who's an Afro-Latinx, a Caribbean heiress to a rum empire. I feel like it's going to be amazing. She writes socially conscious, super steamy romance. I'm looking forward to it. But of course, it wouldn't be one of my super ambitious TBRs if I didn't also have some EARCs from NetGalley to read. So I do have a few of those. I have And Then I Woke Up, which is a horror novella from Tor.com that sounds super intriguing and has a weird cover. So we're gonna try that. I think by like Malcolm Devlin, is that the name of the author? You're gonna see it on the screen, but I'm excited to give this a try. Stephen Graham Jones apparently really liked it. It's like a social literary horror thing, which sounds very up my alley. I also have Nate Plus One by Kevin Van Wy. This is a YA gay rom-com with like a best friends to lovers, or like ex-best friends to lovers. I don't know. It sounds fun. I've enjoyed his writing in the past, and I feel like this will be entertaining. I also got an e-arc of By the Book by Jasmine Guillory. This is the second in a series of books they're doing that are contemporary romance takes on the Disney princesses. I read the one from Julie Murphy, which was a Cinderella one, and I loved it. Jasmine Guillory is doing a Beauty and the Beast one with a plus-size heroine. I am very, very excited to read this. I hope she does it well. Her books are like hit and miss for me. I've really enjoyed some of them, not so much others, so we'll see, but I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful it's gonna be good. And my final e-arc from NetGalley is Summoning Up Love by Synethia Williams. I am so excited for this. It's the first in a series of contemporary romances about brothers who are ghost hunters. I'm so excited. I love Synethia's books. I'm very hyped for this. And Izzy and I even got the chance to talk to her along with a panel of other amazing people on our podcast. I'll link that up above if you're interested, where they were talking about Black love in the romance genre. And it was great. It was really fun. I love her. I love her books. I'm very excited to read this one. So there you go. Those are all of the books that are going on my TBR for March. I do, you know, I mean, maybe unsurprisingly, it's an ambitious TBR. We'll see how it goes. There are some things I can roll over if I need to, but a lot of stuff I'm really excited to read, and I feel like hopefully it will be a good reading month. Talk to me in the comments down below. Let me know any of your thoughts or feelings on anything I talked about in this video. And for your question of the day, tell me about something you are excited to pick up in March. Do you have any exciting reading plans? Do you have something coming out that you can't wait to get to? I would love to hear about it in the comments down below. If you guys like this video, it does help if you give it a thumbs up, subscribe if you want to see more. Thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you next time.